Welcome to the Midwest Moguls Show, where we talk all things business, real estate, and entrepreneurship. Let's dive into today's episode and make business enjoyable again. Welcome back to the Midwest Moguls Show. We have Aidan Salzer here in the studio with us today. Aidan, do the guests a favor, share a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, what you're about, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, so I'm 22 years old. Grew up in Oshkosh. I currently live here. Primarily focus on rental property investing, small multifamily. Also done wholesaling and flipping. So it's been about 2.5 years since I've gotten into it. So just staying busy. So
Shit.
And how many units are you up to? I know we were talking about this prior to, but
25 right now. So just
that's nuts.
looking
That is
to. I doubled from last year. I got to get one more this year to double from last year, but I'm just looking to keep adding.
Yeah.
So I just think I'm trying to utilize my age and get as much as I can right now, and then kind of ride it out. Hopefully, when I'm in my early 30s, it'll start to pay off.
Yeah.
But right now, it's just crazy. So
it's hectic.
yeah, it's hectic in the beginning.
Yeah.
So
well, I think that's with any time you're building something, like whether it's a business or a portfolio of sorts or anything, it's like the beginning part, which no one realizes. They see it's like, oh, shoot, you just bought another property. Like, that's sick. But then they don't see the remodel that goes into it, the managing of the contractors or working there yourself or any of the crap that comes with it. So I guess fill us in a little bit on, okay, what was the first few properties like? What are the properties like that you're buying now? Or like take us back to the very, very beginning when you were getting into this. Because I know we had conversations, obviously, when you were making that jump. But
the very beginning, I just remember I didn't know anything. Luckily, the seller I jumped in and I bought a 4-unit and a duplex all at once, and it was a lot.
That's nuts.
That is nuts.
I no construction background whatsoever. So I had no business doing that. But I kind of just jumped in, and like I didn't even know what a mortgage was. It was just well, I guess before that I was in school for a year down in Madison, and then so I did a full year, and then I dropped out.
Okay.
I think August of 2021. I went to the Appleton RIA and went and sat there. That was the first ever meeting I ever went to. And then for the next like 6 months, that was August. I didn't buy those properties till March of 2022. So for like 7 or 8 months, I was just working like 3 jobs and just listening to Bigger Pockets every day and stashing cash. And luckily I did that because I went way over budget on the first rehab, and that saved me. So if I wouldn't have had that, I would have been, I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah.
So
thankfully.
Yeah.
Obviously it all worked out.
No kidding.
For the best, at least for right now. But with that, like, so obviously you were going to school.
Yeah.
How'd you catch the real estate bug? Because that's not necessarily common of, like I was going down the college path and I jumped off, similar situation, but what made you get into real estate on your side?
I've been asked that before, and I can't really remember. I think it was some sort of book, maybe. I remember maybe it was a book. I remember I sent my older brother like a picture of a book. I was like, hey, you want to read this together? And he was like, yeah, sure. We never did. And I read it, and then I just was like, okay. No one in my family's in real estate. I didn't know anything about it. So I must have read a book or something. Originally, I wanted to be a chiropractor. That's what I was set on. And I was like, I want to have a business, a chiropractor business, have my own clinic and make it cool. So I already kind of wanted to be a business owner. But that just changed because I just was like, I don't know if I want to do 7 years of schooling and get to the end of it. And I was like, the first thing I did after I dropped out is I went to the Life and Air event in Milwaukee. I'm sure you guys have heard of that. And that was really eye-opening to I thought a lot about life and what I want it to look like, and that was a huge change. So that was good.
We've had, because we had Ben Bush on, and so it's like when you guys are so young, that's what and I got in somewhat young, but like you guys are taking huge steps at the age that you are, and that's kind of like what you had mentioned before. Like you're creating this runway of, say, in the next, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years.
Right.
It's like if you own a portfolio of 50 properties or obviously you've been doubling every single year, so it's only going to get more and more. But in 10 years from now, that's insane trajectory. And then it's like, okay, do you just, and this is obviously a hypothetical question, do you see yourself continually accumulating small multifamily? Is it eventually going to branch out into something else? Or what is the thought pattern at least right now?
Small multifamily's working. There's so many duplexes in Oshkosh, and I literally have never done marketing before.
That's nuts.
I'm at 11 properties. Not every one has been a good deal. Like I'm sure I've lost money. But you know, I don't try to be like, oh, I have all these units. I don't really care. Like it comes down to what are you cash flowing. So, but yeah, small multifamily's working. I understand it. I understand the rents, especially in Oshkosh. I've gotten really good at understanding what is a 3-bed, 1-bath, lower of a duplex rent for. I know instantly on what street, what I can get, and I'm confident in it. So, I do want to get into something bigger. I just think it's more effective. It's just a quicker way to build your wealth, and there's less of those. It's a little bit tougher.
Correct.
So, I'm always driving around and seeing product that I could buy. So it's working, and I'm just going to continue to do that. So,
and like the nice thing too is the fact that you're doing it at such a young age is just even over the next 10 years, the equity and everything is going to shoot up. You're going to have a lot of money just in pure equity, which is going to help out just pretty much launch you into getting those bigger properties, showing that you have something to leverage. You know, that's something that not everybody has, and getting that early on is huge, because I know bankers love to see that. I mean, the last thing they want to see is someone that, you know, hasn't gotten anything. And
no experience.
They're like, hey, I want to buy this, you know, $500,000, you know, commercial property. You know, you have nothing to leverage. You can't really do anything about it.
How has that been getting loans at, like, do they ever call into question, like, experience levels, at least on your side of things? Or what has that been? Because obviously you started, like, brand new into it.
Yeah, and then, I got turned down in the beginning. It's been tough. But, you know, some banks are like, no, we're not doing this. Then I'm actually refinancing I'm burying a duplex right now in Wagoo. And Alex actually got in touch with a banker, and just, you know, I was like, I need to, because I go through West Point, and a lot of people do, and I'm like, I'm at the point where I want to look at a different bank potentially and open a new door. And then it was just so, like, some banks are really hungry right now. This bank is, I think, Fox Lake or Marcusson, but it was just like, we're good to go. So, and just set it up. So.
Paying.
Some banks are like, nope, like, we don't want to refinance, or like, we're just tightening, and some are whatever, you know.
Well, I think they depend on real estate, like the ones that are more open to it, because it's like we use West Point a ton, but what I've found with West Point is, like, their rates are pretty high. Like their amortization sucks, like 20-year am.
I love 20-year am.
Well, and it's like you're paying the property down pretty quick. But then, like, when you're looking at the cash flow, if you can make sense out of it, I always say, if you can make sense out of it, keep it as a rental with those terms, then pretty much anything else. Like, if you can refinance, we work with Fox Communities Credit Union quite a bit, and their rates are probably a point and a half cheaper, and then they're on a 25-year am. So it's like, okay, we can kind of have some flexibility with that, but I don't know. I think that's a difficult scenario to navigate, regardless of the level of experience, because bankers are they're making certain demands, and it's always a unique situation depending upon the individual. But what does it look like for you, at least? Like you said, you're working on a flip right now. Like, are you there swinging the hammer all the time? Do you have a crew of contractors, or what has that been like?
Yeah, that's a big subject, because in the beginning I was trying to do everything, and really unhealthy, pulling all-nighters constantly. I was like, this is not sustainable. I need to stop doing this. So I'm glad I did it, but that was a really, really tough time. I was just constantly drained. Like, I didn't have, it was just bad. But that stuff tears you down. Like, it's not, rehabbing is not easy. And I just thought I could go and do it, but no, I don't do it really anymore. I'll drop off materials and stuff, but that's something that, like, it's just been, you got 3-4 projects running at a time. You can't do it yourself. That's what I've come to realize. Actually, one of my biggest struggles has been just contractors. I've just had so many problems lately with contractors, and it's just really frustrating. So
how so?
I don't know. Just like I could. Maybe it's tough because it's like, oh, is this their fault or is it my fault? It's like it's like, wow, like there's that book on like how to win friends and influence people or something. And just I started thinking about that book because I read it. And I'm just like, how do I see like this from my side, but their side? It's just the contractor relationship's really tough because it's just expectations. Like I walk in, it's like something's not right, and it's like, oh, but I thought you said but this and that.
Correct.
And I just really, it's so frustrating. It's like one of my least favorite parts of this business is dealing with rehabs.
Yep.
So I don't know. I might change, but yeah. So like the flip I'm finishing up right now, like it's just been going on for way too long.
Yep.
And it's because I'm trying to be the GC. I'm not even a GC, but it's like I'm handpicking contractors, trying to throw them in there, and it's just not. It's not working. It's like it's taking too long. But this duplex I'm working on, I went a different route, and I went and got one of my buddies. He has a crew, so I was like, just take your crew in there.
Correct.
Just give me a price. Here's everything I want done, and that's the way to do it. I think if I don't have my own crew, but it's like I can hire his, and I can write on a piece of paper everything I want done, and then here's the price. Like I've lost so much money on like. Earlier this year in January, I bought a duplex. I went so over budget. I had a guy working $20 an hour, unlicensed, uninsured.
Yep.
He's there in the middle of the night. I'm driving by after the gym and I see the lights on. It's like, what is he doing up there? Like it was just such a mess. At the time, I was like, this is not right. This is not the way to do it. But I was like, I don't even know what to do right now. And then it's like, oh yeah, I got 13 hours. I got 20 hours. And I walk in. I was like, what do you do? What did you do? And it's like, there was no expectations. That's my fault. Like that was completely
like you're
so
literally, and that's like in our business, that has been the biggest thing right there. Exactly like what you said to a T. And it's since we went the route of, okay, we're trying to get away from hourly altogether because it's not like the expectation with hourly is, okay, are people going to complete things on the same time frame that any one of us would expect? Probably not. Right. But when you hire based upon bid for like, for example, the Nina project we did, the bid was $18,500 for all the labor to do the entire job. Yep. I'm like, perfect. I said, we'll pay you in installments as work's completed. We'll pay you, then we'll withhold final payment until everything's done. Now, by doing that, it got done in like a month. And I'm like, whatever, I'll pay whatever labor rate if it's done in a timely manner, and then you can quickly turn properties. And like that's where, in the beginning, without systems and processes and people or expectations, it's so difficult to do that because you don't know what you don't know, and then if someone takes advantage of the situation,
right?
Yeah, that's the
thing is because we've found out that a lot of people that are contractors that we hire out as hourly, they usually will take their time take a lot longer time to finish some sort of project, mainly to one, get as much money out of it, and two, to just stay busy, have a decent, project for them to be working on until they hear that there's another one.
Yep.
When they hear there's another one, then they're like, okay, I'll finish this up tomorrow. And it's like, I thought you're gonna take another week on this. Like, that's kind of crazy. So that's kind of one thing that I think a lot of investors that are flipping houses run into those issues. And I think also the biggest thing is finding a crew that can do a lot of different things, not just one for specifically flooring and plumbing. Obviously for, I guess, plumbing, you need a license.
But like drywall and that sort of shit.
Do all the other miscellaneous stuff. That's where we found out it's a lot easier to manage a crew and to have a crew that's actually going to be consistent on their, I guess, efforts on completing everything on time. Plus the quality is always a little bit better because you're able to kind of nitpick as you're working on different things. Be like, hey, can you actually go back and just touch this up, fix that up? And that all gets taken care of before they leave. And then you're like,
well, correct. Because you could withhold that final payment.
Exactly.
Like even if you pay them, like say their final payment's $6,000 or whatever, and you pay them $4,000, and it's like, hey, we'll pay the other $2,500 or $2,000.
Yeah.
Once this is done, then you can get past that. And if you need, like we have a crew of contractors that we've been using, they can, the quality is not always there. It's, I don't want to say good enough, but in most cases it is good enough, depending upon what you're bringing back to the market. But I can give you that name after this because they'll breeze through a job pretty darn fast within a month.
I was going to ask, like,
Yeah.
I've been trying to think with contractors, like, how do you set the expectation? Because, like, every contractor I've used some are better. How do you set that expectation of, like, this is what the finished product, like, are you literally showing them pictures of, like, this is what I want the flooring to look like this is what a good kitchen looks like.
So it's
like what they think is good, I might not think is good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
and that's where, like, a lot of the time, at least from what we found is, like, we build out a scope of work for every single job.
Yeah.
So on that scope, it's pretty detailed as far as what the expectation is.
Mm-hmm.
And then if someone goes there once a week or whatever to check in on things and they see something that's off, we'll mark it right away. And it's like, hey, we cannot leave this because otherwise the finished product is not going to look proper. So it's kind of a little bit of a on the front side doing the upfront work, but then throughout the project, even if you're there once or twice a week or whatever, if they haven't done a project for you in the past, staying on top of them, because are they going to take shortcuts? Of course. Like it's almost a given, especially if they're trying to turn through things really quick and get paid on the final amount.
Right.
So it's just a lot of oversight. But then on our scopes, we have been putting finished pictures of what we expect.
Yeah.
Because like if you're talking subway tile and specifics, like everyone has, it's like, is it vertical or is it vertical?
Yeah.
Is it basically blocks? Is it brick pattern? Like there's so many different things that if you're not specific,
Right.
they'll take it into their own consideration, which is like the last thing you want.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
I was just even thinking, like, having side by side, like, photos of finished work. So, like, flooring, I know some contractors, they'll, get the flooring all the way to behind the trim. Other ones will cut it right before the trim, and then there's like little gaps and everything like that. So, like, having photos of stuff like that, green check mark, this is what it looks like. This is what we don't want, X, there. And then just kind of showing a list of different things, even with drywall. Like if there's, areas where pieces of drywall are, I guess, sticking out, or there's holes, like, fill these holes in.
Yep.
If they're not filled in, like, we know what it looks like. If you're just doing, a quick shortcut, throw something on there and whatnot. Obviously, this is what it would look like. Don't do that. We want it to be finished. This is what it should look like. So that's where I think, the communication is huge. And one thing that I did start doing with a contractor that we haven't used in a little while was I just went straight to him. I'm like, this is like our scope of work.
Yeah.
Walk me through how you would like this to be worded, what makes sense, and the process of, like, when you get something like this, what are your steps on, like, what are you working on first, second, third?
Yeah.
Do you go back to things and just get an idea on, like, where their kind of head is at with their process and everything, and understanding that will then help you understand how you can set up the job and the project for them to understand, going through that scope of work, okay, this, that, and things where, okay, one thing that he had mentioned is, like, if people are coming in here like electricians or plumbers, we want those things completely finished, not just roughed in. We want it to be completely finished before we go in there and start doing all the finishing work and stuff, because otherwise it's just going to get damaged. So that's something that,
well, it's coordinating too. Like I think that's the difficult part, because it's like you want to just call a plumber, an electrician, or whatever, and get them over there.
Right.
But the reality of it happening, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. Like, what's your experience been with getting the different? Obviously, when you had the crew there, it might be a little bit different, but like coordinating all the different trades to get in a timely manner. Is it pretty intensive? Has it been easy for you, or?
Yeah, it's difficult because everyone's got different schedules, and that's the problem with, like, I think that's where this pain point is for me, is like everything, like, you have your plumber, your electrician, and then you have, like, the people who are doing drywall and a bunch of other stuff. So, like, one person pushes back, and then I had the two other ones lined up right after them 3 days later, and then everything gets messed up. And, like, it just all, like, the cards fall down, basically. It's kind of how it works. And it's like, okay. So that's where it's like, wow.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Well, how do you, in your mind, like what is the steps to, if you even know, like what's the steps to fix that? Like do you like project management, or is that like something that you absolutely
Lately I
doing?
don't, but it's like, it's one of the things. No, I don't.
I know.
It's just like, I don't want to get out of bed. It's like, I don't want to deal with this today. So yeah, it's either I need to get better at it or I need to hire someone to, but I guess the solution, like I compare my flip that I'm finishing and then this duplex project I'm finishing, the amount of stress that the duplex one, I haven't been there in like 6 days and it's going to be done on Friday and they started last Wednesday. And it's like, boom.
That's nuts.
So I got but I'm hoping I didn't do like expectations. Yeah. I'm hoping that I called my friend who's, that's his crew and I'm like, hey, like, what's the, like, he just told me like this is a 2,000 square foot duplex or 1,700. Yeah. He's like, yeah, we'll have it done in 7 to 10 days. I'm like, dude, how are you going to do that? And like, they're quick. I'm like, okay, well, what's the expectation? Like, they're not just going to like throw down LVP on level floor. So we'll see. I didn't really go through that far. I'm hoping that it turns out good, but I guess just comparing the two projects, like having a crew that, like you said, that they can do more. When you try to handpick my plumber and he doesn't know my electrician and they're all different, they're completely different. You're trying to put all the pieces together. It can fall apart pretty fast. But this crew on this duplex, they're all going up together. They all know what's going on and they're doing everything. So there's not a lot of room for error.
Yeah. Are they Hispanic guys?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what we found, at least. Like it's because they can work in crews of whatever, 5, 6, 7, 8 people at a property at a time. Yeah. Then you're like, holy crap! Like the amount of progress that's made in a day's time is
ridiculous.
No, it's insane. And then like
it's crazy.
And that's where like I think the biggest lesson that we've had is you never just want, even on the projects that we go to, if one person is there, it takes forever. And like any project of ours that's went over budget or specifically over timeline, and then it results in going over budget is because we've had one person there. We haven't been focusing on actually getting it done. It's just been like, okay, so-and-so is here.
Like probably paying them hourly.
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Same story. Yeah.
And and we still have that issue, and it's like we've done a ton of remodels, but it still happens. Like you fall into this cycle, and then like we're slowly getting away from that. But
so I try to, like, with the whole, like, you got one guy in there, some handyman, you're paying him $25 an hour, $20 an hour. In the beginning of the project, this is how it's gone every single time, and I'm done doing that. Yeah. They started off, oh, let's go, like, I'm gonna take care of you, and I can do all this. Like, they're way over their head. A lot of times they're broke and they don't have any money, so they're like, I'm gonna just do hourly and milk this guy out, and then and they start to get mad at me because they're like, I'm working 50 hours a week and I don't and they just fizzle out and they're done. So it's like, I don't want to deal with that. It's just not effective. So
I agree.
It's happened
I agree.
Every single time that has happened. It's like, clearly this is not working. And it's like, I don't blame them really. Like, it's like they're trying their best, but it's like, it's just not, they're in over their head and they want money. And that's how it's gone every time.
Yeah. And they don't know anything else. And it's like, normally that type of individual, at least in our experience, other people just don't want to work with them. That, like, they always say, it's like, oh, I'm not going to have the responsibility of hiring all these other people and managing them. It's like, no, people just don't want to work with you. So like, they go out on their own, they make all these promises and under deliver significantly on the promises. It's like, okay, well, obviously that can't happen again. So it's, I think, almost transitioning from, okay, have a crew go in, knock out almost everything. Now, if final touches are needed or some miscellaneous stuff to make it really, really shine, then send in the single person for whatever, a week or a few days just to get it wrapped up and have a completed project. And that's, I think, what we've been transitioning to more so lately versus what we've done in the past. But do you see yourself just staying in and around the Fox Valley area and building up a portfolio of different properties? Do you ever see yourself expanding outward, or what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I'm here for, unless something happens in my life or whatever. For now, I plan on being here though. So as far as like buying outside of the Fox Valley, I haven't really thought about it yet, but I'm open to it. So
is everything just in Oshkosh right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty impressive.
That is.
Damn.
Well, it's just nice to,
Yeah.
I know the area, and it's like I said, like, it's just nice to know, like, okay, I know what I can rent this for.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. And I just have when you have that confidence, it just makes it a lot easier to just like, okay, I'm going to buy that. Like, just let's do it. So I just know what it's going to rent for. And yeah,
I know.
So
what would you give for Joe? Like, because Joe is slowly building up some rentals. But if he wanted to go balls deep in building up some rentals, like what would you tell him as of right now for like going from, I don't know, however many units you have right now, like cumulatively?
Yeah, 4 or 5.
Yeah. But if he wanted to take that to 20 in the next 12 months, like what would you tell him? Or what would be kind of the plan of action? Well, how have you, like, I guess to turn this back to yourself, like how, if you're not doing any marketing, like how are you able to come across all these places?
I guess actually I just bought one off the MLS. I never thought I'd do that, but whatever. So that was one way. That's always an option nowadays. Not really. I actually this is a pretty cool one, but the latest one, I close on that end of next month. But I literally called a for rent sign off of Jackson Street, and I was just like, okay, called him, and he starts telling me, I was like, hey, I saw your rental, and I'm like, I'm actually. He was telling me about the rent. I'm like, yeah, I listened to him talk for like 30 seconds. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm actually not interested in renting. I'm just, I'm a landlord. And I just bought a place down the road, which I did. And I was like, I'm looking for another one. And he's like, oh, okay. And he's like, yeah, I actually got like 3 more duplexes in the area. Like I'm from out of town. I'm just kind of sick of them. So I'm like,
really?
There you go. So
Dang.
I tried to offer to get all of them. And he's like, literally on the first, he was like, after I was like, yeah, I'm looking for another one. He was like, oh yeah, they're all paid off. And I'm like, great. So financing, seller financing, that's what I try to do. For scale, that's nice too. Like to answer your question, that's been helpful. There's just a lot of flexibility with seller financing, and that's how you can cash flow better in today's market.
And right now, like when it comes to structuring the seller financing, typically what do you like to structure that?
It's been different every single time.
I was going to say, usually it is, but.
Yeah. So, you have the straight one where maybe you just put some money down, like very small down payment. They just finance the rest. I've done that. Or I just write a check. Like I try to not put any money down.
Right.
But I've bought a duplex on Sawyer, and I just gave him $5,000 down, whatever, and then just, finance the rest. And then this one that and then same thing for this one where I called the for rent sign. He wanted a down payment, and I just like, okay, I'll just come up with the money. And then, excuse me.
Yep, you're good.
And then another one I did. This one was pretty crazy. He also paid off. So duplex on Jackson.
Yeah.
It's like probably 2,400 square feet. He wanted one. He said like we walk the property, go to the driveway. And I'm like, okay, what are you looking to get? And he's like, or I was like, do you have a number in mind? And he's just like, yeah, 190. And I was like, okay, I can tell you right now, I can't pay for that unless I just said right away, I'm like, I can't pay that unless we could do some financing. He's like, okay, like what are you thinking? Or he was like, oh, I think he was like, yeah, I could probably hold a note for 7-8 years, something like that. And I was like, great, that's all I need to know.
Yeah, no kidding.
Let me go run my numbers, and I'll call you in an hour. And then I think I just offered like, I'll just give you 185, finance the whole thing over for 10 years at like 3%, whatever, something like that. He was like, no, I need a down payment.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. He was like, yeah, I want like, I don't even know what the down payment was, like $20,000. I was like, I don't have the cash for that right now. I'd have to go get a loan from West Point to do this, but you'd have to take second position on 165. He was like, yeah, that's fine. So didn't even blink an eye. So he's
kidding.
The guy's in second position holding $165,000. I went and got a loan from West Point for $20,000 for a down payment. So it's like, okay, so no money down.
Shit.
And then I got him to hold it for 6 years. So it's like at like 4%. So the idea is to, I don't know, 20-year AM. So it's like you look at the schedule.
Correct. Yeah, you're paying
like,
it down.
I don't care that I'm paying 185. I just got into this for no money, and it's a solid property, and I'm not going to have to refinance. Like it's going to be paid down at that point enough where it's like it doesn't matter. Like,
well,
it's cool. Yeah, that's
it
cool.
is. It's
I love principal pay down.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite thing. Some people like cash flow. I love to see I can buy this and just the tenants are going to pay it down, and you're like that's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
So
do you track like when you're and I don't know how in depth you are with the numbers, if you like the number side of things at all, but do you track like, okay, here's how much my net worth is growing per month or per year or whatever, or is that something that
every
you're
month. Yeah.
really
every month?
Okay.
Or sometimes I skip a month.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah, I just go in and I update. Okay, like here's. I don't have appraisals for all of them because some of them are seller financing.
Correct.
So
Yeah,
I just look at the comps and I see what I think it's worth, and then it's just your loans go down every month, and you just update the number, and you can see what your LTV is.
Yeah.
So
that's sweet.
That is awesome.
just track that, update the rent roll, and just keep stuff rented out. That's the way to do it. So.
Well, and go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Like, are you buying like with these rentals that you're purchasing? Are they typically ones that are distressed, like need some updating prior to getting tenants in there? Are they already fully, I guess, rented out and you just...
It's been a mix.
Okay. What do you prefer?
Yeah, I don't really have a preference. I don't know. It's nice when you do, it's like, it's not, I bought stuff where I bought a triplex, and I didn't do anything. Like I bought it. Again, that was seller financing with private money and no money down. It's like, okay, it's already fully rented, and the landlord was a good landlord and had good rent, so I didn't do anything. I still haven't been in like 2 of the apartments, and I've owned it for over a year. Never even seen it, and the tenants have stayed. So it's like, that's really nice. But when they leave, I'm going to have to cough up 10, 15, 20, probably 10 grand to go and fix everything. So that sucks. But then it's the other way is like you buy it and you front load all that stress and pour all the money into it, and then you just forget about it. So I don't know. It's a horse piece, but
it's like it makes you rethink like a lot of the no money down side of things. And I think you get, at least on my side, I'm speaking for myself when I say this, but I get like lazy on the offers when you have some money at your disposal, and then you're just like, hey, okay, whatever, I'll put a down payment down or whatever the case is. It's not, instead of trying to structure things creatively and keep that cash in circulation.
Yep.
And that's where like you just, I don't know, like even I think 12 months ago, it's like, okay, we bought some stuff a little bit more creatively, but when you're actually limited by the amount of cash you have, then you're like, hey, let's actually start thinking through this. And when it comes, at least on our side, when it comes to the bigger properties, like there's a little bit more dollars that go into it. I'm like, I physically do not have the cash to put down. So it's like we just need to do something that works a little bit better, whether it's a like incremental down payments or some sort of low to no money down structure, and see if the owner would be all right with it. And I think 9 times out of 10, like there's a reason they own the property. They obviously liked it for a certain amount of time. Maybe now it's becoming a little bit more of a pain point, but are a lot of these owners that you're dealing with, would you classify them as the typical like motivated seller, or are they just almost tired landlords?
So yeah, some of them are just tired landlords. That's typically what it's been. Just they're older, paid off, and you know, it's just like I'll do it. So usually their systems aren't great. Rents are always really low. The leases suck. The tenants suck. I bought from some slumlords. There's some real slumlords out there. I've been amazed at the condition of these properties, some of them that I'm buying. Like just the amount of deferred maintenance. You can tell too. Like some of them some of them you can tell because everything is messed up. Or like you can tell it's like there's a little bit of updates, but you can tell like they added bracing in the basement. They tuck point it. Like you can just tell when it's a good landlord.
Yeah.
Do you oh shit, I had a question that was top of mind. Now I kind of blank. Oh, do you self-manage everything right now?
I do. I don't want to do third party.
Okay. Why is that?
Yeah, the reason for that, my best friend used a third party and he just didn't have a good experience, and I've just not heard anything. I've not heard anything good about it. This is where basically all my this is where my whole life. This is where all my finances lie. The rate that I'm buying at, it's like it just doesn't make sense to me right now to hire a third party. I want to be in control of who I'm selecting as a tenant. I believe your tenants that's like one of the most important things about having rental properties. That will make or break your business. I've had bad tenants. I've picked really good ones, but when you like the only time I have bad tenants is when I buy a property and I'm getting rid of the current tenants or I keep them. I'm just amazed at some of these landlords, like, who do you even have a screening process? Like, it's like,
I don't think they do.
no, they don't care. And it's like, no wonder you're burnt out. So that's the root of burning out. I think for a burnt out landlord is your tenants run you down and they take control. Like, you have to take control of your business.
Yeah.
And I want to be in control of that. I need to grow more before I hire someone. I'm not at that point yet. But that's why I'm trying to buy.
Like in-house, you're saying?
Yeah, just hiring someone and who can handle just taking phone calls and doing my emails and all that stuff. I'm just not quite at that point yet, but I'm trying to get there. So hopefully next year, maybe. I don't know.
Well, and it's, you don't really know what the future holds. And that's where, like, even on our side, so we have third-party property management, but we are placing the tenants. Like on all of them.
Really?
And that, so it's, and that's where, like, upstairs, that unit just went vacant. We just placed another one. My brother did. But my thought pattern is, okay, if we're marketing the unit, we're essentially doing all the upfront work. They're signing the lease with the tenant. They're managing the rent collection and so on and so forth. If there's evictions involved, they're taking care of that, or notices or anything like that. But my thought was, I at least want to know who's in it. Like, someone from our team can meet them face to face, see what they're about. We can go through the background check. We can check financials. We can do all of those things instead of having the third party do it, because they essentially want to fill the unit, which is, like, that's their job. But again, they don't. There's a personal touch to it, and I think when a tenant has a personal touch with someone who actually owns the place, it's a little bit better than third party.
Yeah.
But again, that's teach their own. And some people can afford to do that.
Right.
Some people don't necessarily care. They don't want any responsibility when it comes to their rentals, which teach their own. But I think from what we've found, they've placed certain tenants destroy the units. Then you're like, well, what the hell? Like now we're spending another $5,000 to get this back into rent ready condition, and we lost almost all the cash flow. Or all of it plus some. Which is detrimental.
Yeah, a bad tenant, it comes with all the strings. Like, you lost all your cash flow, your vacancy, and not to mention the stress, and you're getting reported to, what is it, consumer protection. That's happened to me over just small stuff, and they just want to put up a fight. So,
what has been the biggest learning lesson so far on your side, whether it comes to rentals or flips, or, like, obviously we talked about the contractor side of things, but, like, whether it was a failure or learning, I always call them learning lessons. But what's
there's been so many. I've lost so much money just over small stuff. I added up all the stuff I shouldn't have spent money on, like, just
such as
just like
What's the one that comes top of mind as soon as I said that? Like, I know I'm on our side, but there's so much shit I've wasted money on.
I had an LLC that I created that is now my management company LLC. And then I had, like, my first 3 in this LLC, and then I went to a local attorney and just spent way too much money on, like, having them quit clean. I got, like, a $5,000 bill, and it's like, why? That was so pointless. Like, I just didn't need to do that. And, like, just stuff like that. I wish
for, like, corporate protection you're talking about?
I was trying to, like, do the, hey, you have a management, and each property has its own LLC, and I kept doing that. I don't do that anymore. I just created a new one. I'm just going to throw them all into that. But I don't know if I called my new attorney, and just had a conversation, like, this is what I'm doing, and is it even worth it? And he's like, oh, it's kind of whatever makes you sleep well at night. Cause there's some landlords out there that have, like, 100 properties and it's all in one LLC. Like, they must just not care. But but that's one example. And then most of the learning, it just really, it's all of the rehabs. Everything is just rehab related, I would say.
So that's kind of the biggest pain point, at least right now in the
rehabbing is, like, I don't know, like, if you're new to real estate and you don't know anything, like, that will crush you. You need to know. I wish I would have, like, taken more time to understand what stuff costs, and just having no clue. I have no business jumping into that, and, like, it's you can make mistakes, but I don't even know sometimes how I'm still, like, surviving right now, because, like, I've made some pretty bad mistakes with, like, overpaying on whether it's a property or it's rehab materials, or you just don't know. And, like, there's just so many mistakes. I don't know, But
it's all learning lessons.
it is.
Yeah,
It is.
But
Yeah.
does it suck during
it's
that
terrible.
time?
It's terrible.
It's like you don't want to get up in the morning. It's
Yeah.
like I don't even know how I'm going to get through the next month. How, I got
Right.
20 grand in credit cards. I have no money. And it's like, what are you going to do? You just roll with the punches and keep going. Like,
when you try to figure it out, like
Yeah,
that's the ultimate thing. It's like, okay, you're having, and we've had plenty of shitty projects.
Oh my
like
God,
we've had.
Glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
no,
But
God,
it's
no.
like
Everybody.
you buy these things in the initial anticipation. Like we had one in, I'll give the most recent one was one in Appleton. And I'm like, okay, and I thought we did everything properly on the front side. Then I'm like, well, it's not selling. We dropped the price. Keep dropping the price. We ended up selling it we probably lost 40,000. And I'm like, that's nuts.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, and it sold for 40,000 less than what the as completed appraisal came in at.
Yeah.
So it's like, and that's where I'm like, what the fuck?
So could
went
you have
wrong?
done anything differently, or was
Well,
not
that's
buy it?
what I'm. Not buy it. But it was one of those properties, and this is again. So the huge properties,
Yeah.
it's very very rarely that we're going to buy a 3,000 square foot. This was over 3,000 square foot. It's like 3,500.
Yeah.
Unless the margin is gigantic.
It was such a weird layout.
It was like a huge buy level
more
of
of a
4,000
unique-
square
yeah.
foot buy
Right.
level.
Just one of a kind of a
Yeah,
house.
it definitely was.
And when it comes to those properties, we found out that there also is only a small fraction of buyers that are actually going to be wanting to buy something like that.
Right.
And then they also have a lot of, criticism towards those types of properties.
Yeah.
So it was too big of a house. There'd be, a family of three. They're like, well, they like it, but it's just too big. It's like, well,
Obviously.
Yeah,
I think it was 7 bedrooms.
yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3.5 bath or something.
In like a nicer neighborhood
Yeah.
and everything, like that would be fine to have that type of house, I guess, on campus or near a college where
Rented by the room.
Yeah, student housing or something like that.
Right.
But what are the odds you actually have a family of 6,
I know.
7, 8 people? It's like
Among families.
yeah,
I guess that's
that's
But
what we
still,
were hoping
like,
for.
I know.
But then still, like you're still trying to
a very small
Yeah.
segment of the population.
right, and still expensive house.
Correct.
So they gotta obviously have the money.
I know.
Yeah.
I think the more and more renovations that we do, the smaller houses, 2 bed, 3 bed, 1 bath, less than 1,500 square feet, like bread and butter, easy, in and out within a month and a half. Ranch style houses would buy every single one of them because it's so much easier to get in and out of a renovation. It's basically copy and paste over and over and over again. And then as far as like if you're replacing roofs or whatever, if you can stay away, at least our best margin deals have been the ones that are built like after post 1950, 1960. So it's a little bit more modern construction versus like the ones that
The knob and tube. And
correct.
The,
It's
Those are tough.
100-year-old properties that have had certain things done to it that was never really documented.
Yeah.
And, don't have no idea who
Correct.
actually did the work, if it was licensed or not. And typically it wasn't.
typically, that's what I was going to say. There's
so
a good
it's
chance.
just a hodgepodge. And then if you get an inspector in there, they're like, oh, this wasn't done right.
Yeah.
You have to redo it. It's like, what are you talking about? This was like 50 years ago. That's what I'm dealing with. It's like, come on.
Well, it's such a shit show. Have you had to deal with city inspections at all on any of your projects? How has that been?
I haven't had any problems yet, luckily.
Yeah.
it stays
Hey,
the
that's
same.
knock on wood, right?
Yeah. What about you?
We've had honestly, I actually think working in Oshkosh, the city inspectors are getting way easier.
Yeah.
Like
They are.
in my opinion. Like I would work with versus Fond du Lac.
Yeah.
That's another hesitancy about Fond du Lac. As long as it's a more modern construction down there, I'd buy everything in Fond du Lac because price points I think are actually as strong as Oshkosh, if not a little bit stronger.
Oh, really?
Surprisingly, yeah, it's weird. Weird. I don't understand that with Fond du Lac, but
Interesting.
Fond du Lac city inspections are impossible to deal with. And that's where like you're probably spending another $3,000 or $4,000 just in inspection repairs. And then if you don't, we've had multiple scenarios. We remodel the place, we put it up on the MLS, we're flipping it, and then we get a letter in the mail, and they're like, "Yeah, we reviewed the listing online, and we saw that you remodeled the kitchen.
Right.
You said that in the description." I'm like, "What the fuck?"
Okay, this happened to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like
I've heard of this before.
2 times. Yeah. And that's where then they send us the notice after the fact, and then they have to come in. One of them, one time we didn't pull permits, which it's neither here nor there, whatever it is.
Yeah.
We were just trying to get through it. But then they're like, well, if you do this again, we're going to revoke your contractor license. And I'm like, I didn't even know that was possible for like a city official to even say that. So that was one of the things that, I don't know, Fond du Lac is increasingly difficult to work with. But yeah, Oshkosh isn't so bad. Like we just dealt with one of the inspectors there and he was nice. Like he was
So
cordial.
they're going to revoke your contract.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like they were going to, I don't know,
Is it
even
in the
know.
mail or gonna revoke
I know.
your license?
I'm like, what the hell? And it's like we weren't necessarily being combative with them. It was. I'm just like, I didn't think we needed to pull permits. He's like, you opened up walls. I'm like, I'm sorry.
I didn't know. I'm not a good contractor.
We were just trying to create an open concept.
Right.
I didn't know it was load bearing. And I don't even think the freaking wall was load bearing.
Yeah.
But other than that, what else are you up to in the near future? Anything that you're currently working on, need help with? Any insights on that side or?
No, I just think I'm, I guess for the near future, I just, I think I want to, I guess my new goal is just to, I don't know, maybe I should rethink this because I care about cash flow. It's not just about units, but it's a good goal just to be like, just to keep me moving along.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to double every year. So that would I need to buy another, whatever, 20, 25, 26 units next year. So that's kind of my goal for rentals.
Yep.
And I just think I'm kind of overdue for like a systems rehaul, like just reset. I think once I, get these projects that I'm working on off my plate, I need to take some time to rethink just like my organization and how I'm doing stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like I'm wasting way too much time. I want to start to really get dial in on how I'm using my time.
Yeah. Do you have any like virtual assistants right now or nothing?
No, but I've thought about that. That's an option. I think that's probably the avenue I'm going to go.
That's what I was about to say.
Definitely start there for sure.
Because that's where like right now, over the last several months, like we've been doing that same exact thing. I'm like, this is like it's not sustainable going the route that we are. We can't grow. Like you hit a certain threshold that you're like, okay, you either need to bring on more people, have people in specific roles or positions within the company in order to grow.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, it's just going to be a shit show. And then over the summer, we were doing a lot of projects. Not a whole lot. Like there was a lot getting done, but there was still a lot of projects sitting out there that you're like, where's the focus right now?
Right. Right.
And it's without people in the right seats. And we've brought on software now and hired some virtual assistants and have more people helping, which is tremendous.
Yeah.
And I think the first hire you make is always the most nerve wracking. But again, if you can take the low barrier to entry of a virtual assistant for $10 an hour, $8 an hour, 5 or 4 or whatever, like that's they can do so much work in that amount of time that you're like, I think my time's worth more than $10 an hour.
It is.
Or whatever it is. So,
well, it's in the beginning, it's like you think you're saving money by going and switching out a lock or doing this or that. And it's like you do a wholesale for 20 grand.
Yep.
And that like, what are you going to value?
Correct.
So, but it's like, I feel like, at least for me, it's like, oh, I'm scared because like, I don't think I have the money to pay someone. So it's like, I need to harvest everything I have and I'm just going to do all myself. But it's, which is kind of true. Like you kind of have to do that in the beginning, but it's like at a certain point, you got to start to transition.
Correct.
I try to just look at everything from the lens of like, what's your vision? Because that's going to guide how you operate your business or how it's ran. I know landlords with 100 units that do everything themselves and they can't go away for a month because their business would fall apart.
Correct.
So it's like, okay, do I want that? No. So at some point I'm going to have to hire someone. That's just how it works. So
well, and coming to that realization sooner rather than later is probably ideal. Because like when they're at a certain threshold of whether it's, and obviously speaking not in certainties, but if someone has 50 properties or 100 properties, they're doing everything themselves. You literally cannot take your foot off the gas ever.
No.
Because it will fall apart.
Yep.
If you're managing everything yourself or whatever the case is. And that's where, even on our side, like I read a book and we're putting systems in place that like any one of us can step away for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's fine. And if you can't do that, I'm like, you don't necessarily have a business. And that's what I've realized is like we have a business, so to say.
Active business.
But it's like it's not passive by any stretch of the imagination. Like if you're not here every single day working towards the vision or goal, then it falls apart. So I don't know. It's eye-opening, but Teach their own.
Yeah,
There's a
right.
different pace. Joe, any other questions you have for Aidan?
I'm trying to think. I had a question, and then as you were talking, I kind
I
of.
know. Yeah, I know. That's what happens. That's why I kind of interrupt.
Yeah, I know.
Because you almost have to. But
Well, I have a question for
Yeah.
you. How's the, what is it, you said 5 or 6 units? Or that you have?
Yeah.
How's that going? Or-
So it's going pretty good. Though those ones right now are owned with Carter and his dad.
Okay.
So they're all properties like I had found, and we got a partnership together. So they've been going really well. We got Airbnb up in Green Bay,
Nice.
right on Lombardi Ave.
Oh, nice.
So
Cool.
that we're kind of transitioning, maybe looking at a couple different options, whether selling it or just getting someone to kind of help manage it, because that one property does take a lot of time, and you should be more strategic with those Airbnbs.
we're just doing a shitty job.
So we're just we're dropping the ball on that, and that's one thing we didn't realize getting into Airbnbs, that there was a lot more that goes into it than
There
just
is.
rent it out for a week and forget about it. It's like no, you have to have tenants coming in every couple days. You know?
So it's a tough one.
But no, the properties that we have right now, there's a couple that are paid down pretty significant, and we're making really good cash flow.
Good.
So
We're buying a place Monday.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Doesn't even know.
Oh, that one. Oh God, Jesus. Okay. For some reason, I
We are
thought you
doing
were
a
talking
1031
about.
exchange.
I thought you were talking about.
Yeah.
I thought there was
whatever.
another one. I'm like, wait, what? I thought you're.
Do you know what the property is?
Yeah, the commercial property.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so-
No, that one's gonna be a good one. I thought you were saying
No.
you're buying another one.
No,
I knew
that's
about that.
the one. Okay. I was just making sure.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you were going to mention that, but no.
Yeah.
So that's
That is, yeah. So now we're kind of looking into a little bit more commercial properties, and that's one thing that, we're obviously this will be our first one, so it'll be a big learning lesson.
Yep.
But we see a lot more, I guess, profitability plus a lot more hands off with those types of properties, because at least this one will be like a triple net. So really nice and easy. And we're just kind of hoping for the best. The only downside with this one is it does come with a tenant that has a long lease still set up.
Yeah.
And the rent is a little bit lower than what the average is and what we'd want.
How many years left on the lease?
I don't want
10, 15 years?
10
years.
Yeah.
probably 12, but we'll say 10.
Yeah. Right in between. Yeah. Split the difference. But
sucks.
that one's going to be very exciting to kind of see how that works. It'll be actually kind of nice, I think, having already a tenant in there.
Yeah.
And being just kind of working through the kinks and stuff like
Correct.
that. But yeah, kind of my goal. And last night I was just laying in bed and kind of watching some YouTube videos and looking on Google and stuff with real estate, as I do pretty much every night, and kind of looking into commercial property. I'm thinking, okay, if we can start leveraging the rentals that we have right now to do what we're doing with 1031 exchange, buying those commercial properties, can we maybe do 2, maybe 3 next year with some of the other rentals that we have, get into those more, I guess, kind of secured, I guess, properties, and down the long road, we'll appreciate a lot more, and we'll just be a lot safer when it comes to tenant, I guess, not having any really vacancies and everything like that. So there's a lot of plus sides. Obviously, more expensive. You're dealing with a little bit higher net worth kind of people too. Usually they have a business and everything like that. So that's kind of one thing I think I enjoy about real estate, is working with like-minded people that enjoy the real estate game. You can work and help out other businesses versus sometimes when you're dealing with those just like families and tenants that are trying to take advantage of you and don't see it from your point of view.
Oh, yeah.
That's the hardest thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Feels more like a business of what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's a business relationship almost. Like that.
Residential's tough.
On that side. And that's what, like, even with, because we've bought a few storage units but like the owners they're always a little bit, I don't want to say more intelligent, because they're more real estate savvy is what it comes down to. And like, you can see that. And then the transactions are structured a lot of times in a seller financing kind of way, or they're willing to wait for 1031s or whatever just to get their price. So I don't know. We'll wait and see.
And it just comes down to everybody's experience. Whether you had a good experience with
Correct.
residential,
Yeah, I
then
know.
you're like, I love residential. If you have, bad experience, maybe you're looking to do, pivot and go commercial, and you're like, I like this way more. Screw residential. It all comes down to preference and experiences that you kind of encounter throughout the journey.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of switch back and forth.
Oh, we do all the time. Yeah.
Love doing all these flips. Let's stop doing flips. Let's wholesale. Let's go back, do rentals.
Yeah.
It's like, you kind of have to move though with the market. I think that's a nice thing is doing flipping, wholesaling, or at least knowing how to do those. Because as the market moves, as it slows down, you're able to kind of pivot and switch your operations just a little bit to then still stay afloat and not be basically sinking as the market maybe is going down.
Definitely.
So that's one thing I know we're always conscious about is making sure that we're not getting too over leveraged.
Yeah.
And I think if you're consistent on checking on the market and watching it, that's always going to help you out in the long run because then you're going to have less mistakes and you're going to be able to make those switches earlier on versus, getting months down the road and you're like, looks like this flip was probably a terrible idea to buy.
I know.
I should have just wholesaled it instead of actually picking it up because, market was kind of trending down and now we're getting into the winter and, sometimes it's not the best time to sell. So that's, I guess that's
Always
my 2
learning
cents on
lessons.
that. Yeah.
Well, cool. We'll wrap it here because that camera just shut off. But appreciate you guys watching as always. Hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoyed the show. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.